seated position. So again, you can sit cross-legged, you can sit on your knees, you can sit with your legs out in front. And again, we just take those few moments just to arrive and just kind of let go of the day. So again, just finding that seated position. And then again, from that internal perspective, we just bring our awareness to our posture. So again, just rolling the shoulder blades back and down, lifting up a little bit through the sternum. Back of the neck is long, chin is slightly tucked in, eyes are lightly closed. And again, we just slowly start to shift that awareness to the breath. So tonight we're going to do a little bit of Pratyahara practice. So again, that fifth limb of yoga. So we kind of have the niyamas and the yamas, those kind of moral and ethical obligations of being a yogi, which we're going to explore in a few weeks. And then we have the asanas, the posture, and then we have the pranayama, the breath work. And then we have Pratyahara, which is that kind of bridge between the hatha yoga, the very physical yoga, and the Raja yoga, or the royal yoga, kind of the yoga of the mind. Because from Pratyahara, we work into dharana, which is concentration, dhyana, which is focus, and then samadhi, which is kind of meditation or enlightenment. So kind of the 8 limbs of yoga, which is what Ashtanga means, 8. So again, we can just start with that Pratyahara, just that kind of slowly starting to withdraw inwards and just be kind of less kind of distracted by all our senses. So to begin this, we just focus on that breath, just the inhalation and the exhalation, it's that slow rhythm of the breath. And then again, we can start to just breathe into that yogic breath, or the free part breath. So again, breathing into the belly or the diaphragm, up into the chest, up into the collarbones. So again, we're filling the whole of the lungs. And then again, we can breathe out of the diaphragm, out of the chest, and out of the collarbones. And again, as we breathe in for that count of 6, we can have that slightly longer exhalation as we breathe out. We can breathe now for a count of 8 or 10. And again, just that awareness of breathing into the kind of the whole of the lungs. So again, we breathe into the front, sides, back of the diaphragm, front, sides, back of the chest, front, sides, back of the upper chest. Again, we're aware of that expansion throughout the whole of the upper body. And then again, we can breathe out back, sides, front diaphragm, back, sides, front chest. And again, back, sides, front, the upper chest. Again, we're just going to slowly come into a few rounds of that Ujjayi breath. So again, Ujjayi means victorious. And this is where we make that slight ha sound at the back of the throat. So we slightly close up the glottis. We breathe in and out of the nose, making that kind of ha sound at the back of the throat. It's a very audible breath, sometimes known as the Darth Vader breath, or the ocean breath. And again, it really brings our awareness to our breath because of the sound. And we can also breathe with the Ujjayi breath. They talk about in the kind of the yoga, well, Iyengar is actually light on pranayama. They talk about breathing from kind of heart to throat, and then throat to heart. So it's really kind of big, victorious, kind of thoracic breath. So kind of mid lungs and upper lungs breath. It's one of the only breaths we actually use in the asana work. So if you practice like Ashtanga, you would use it actually whilst you're doing the posture work. Because it's a thoracic breath, it doesn't really use the diaphragm too much. And again, you can just allow that breath to return back to its normal rhythm. Again, take a couple of moments here, just see how we feel. We can again gently rub the hands together if we want to, create that little bit of heat. Bring the hands up to the eyes, gently blinking into that warmth and darkness of the hands, and bringing the fingertips onto the eyelids, gently massaging out the eyelids, on to the temples and down the sides of the jaw, to the chin. And then we're just going to begin here with a couple of little stretches. So again, if you want to kind of change your seated posture, you can. If you want to sit on your knees, slightly change your posture, you're very welcome to. Now we're just going to kind of relax the arms down by the sides. So we're going to begin with a little bit of neck work. So all we're going to do to start with is those kind of little neck rotations. Again, just getting rid of all those clicks and cricks and crunches out of the neck. And then again, we can take the head in the opposite direction. And then again, we can just bring our head back to center. And then we're just going to take an inhalation here. And as we exhale, we're just going to turn our head to the right. And we're just going to kind of gaze over that right shoulder for a couple of breaths. And then again, just seeing how it feels to play around a little bit here. So again, if we just tuck the chin in a little bit, as we keep our head turned to the right, how does that feel? And then again, if we lift our chin up, our gaze up a little bit towards the ceiling. And then again, we can come back to center. We can turn our head to the left this time, to the gaze over the left shoulder. Again, we can just gently tuck the chin in a little, see how that stretch changes. And then again, we can gently lift the head up. And then again, we can come back to center. And then now we're going to take it a little bit more into the top of the shoulders and the neck. So we're going to clasp the hands together behind the back. And then we're going to bring our hands towards the outside of that right hip. We're going to squeeze the palms together. We're going to roll the left shoulder blade back and down. No, sorry, let's roll the right shoulder blade back and down. Squeeze our right elbow in towards our left. Press the palms together. And then we're just going to kind of drop our kind of right ear towards the right shoulder. So we're kind of stretching through kind of the top of the left shoulder, the left side of the neck. Sorry guys, too many lefts and rights. I've had a bit of a couple of weeks off teaching, so my ability to know my left and my right is totally gone. And then again, the same thing here. If we just drop the chin in a little, how does that feel? And then again, if we tuck the chin back, drop the chin back to gaze up. And then again back to center. And then again, we can just release the arms. We can bring them towards the outside of that left hip this time. We can roll that left shoulder blade back and down. Squeeze the left elbow in towards the right. Squeeze the palms together. Again, we can drop our left ear towards the left shoulder this time, stretching through that right side of the neck, top of the right shoulder. We can again tuck the chin in a little bit. See how that changes the stretch. And again, just drop the head back a little. And then again, we can bring the head back to center. And then we can just release the arms. So we're going to do two last ones whilst we're sitting here. So now we're going to take it a little bit more into the side muscles. So we're going to bring those arms up. We're going to clasp them above the head. Exhale, roll the shoulder blades back and down. Take that inhalation. Exhale, take the arms over towards the right side. So again, we're stretching through the left side. We can drop our right hand here down onto the floor, or be up on our fingertips, whichever feels comfortable, or maybe even walk our right hand a little bit further out to the side. Press our left sit bone towards the floor. When you reach that left arm up and over, drop our right ear towards the right shoulder. So we're just kind of getting that little stretch again in the left side of the neck. Take a couple of breaths here. And then again, have that little play around here. So again, if we bring our arm a little bit in front, how does that feel? A little bit over the ear. And then the one I really struggle with, a little bit behind the ear. Tight little climber shoulders. And then again, we can slowly come back to center. We can again clasp the hands together. Exhale here as we roll shoulder blades back and down, tucking the ribs in, taking that inhalation. Exhale again, bringing the arms over towards the left side this time. Dropping our left hand down, maybe walking our left arm a little bit further out to the side, pressing our right sit bone, bum cheek towards the floor. Dropping that left ear towards the left shoulder. In that side stretch through the right side. And then again, take a couple of breaths here. And then again, having that little play around. So again, if we bring our arm a little bit in front, a little bit over the ear, and then again, maybe a little bit behind the ear. I feel that a little bit in my QLs. I did this morning one of the stretches. It's quite tight. And then again, we can inhale, coming back to center. Final one, we just reach those arms out to shoulder level. We come into that little twist. So again, we're just going to take our left arm towards our right knee if we're cross-legged. If you're sitting on your knees, you might first bring it to your right hip. Bring our right arm around towards that left hip. Take the gaze over that right shoulder. You can press the hands into the body so you create that little bit of tension. Maybe twist yourself a little bit further. Relax the shoulders. Almost a tendency to slightly tense up the shoulders and twist. And then again, we can inhale, coming back to center. Exhale again to the opposite side, bringing that right hand to either left knee, left hip, left hand towards the right hip. Press the hands into the body, gaze over the back, left shoulder, relax the shoulders down. And then back to center. And just give those arms a bit of a shake out. So now we're going to swing over on to our front. So we're just going to slowly come into a little child stretch now. So again, whichever child position you prefer, knees together, knees wide out to the side, knees a little bit out to the side. Just gently stretching those arms out in front, walking those fingertips a little bit further forward, pressing the fingertips into the floor. So you feel that stretch up the arms, across the back of the shoulders. And then again, we can just gently walk those hands over towards that right side. So again, we get that little bit of stretch down through that left side of the body. And then again, we can come back to center. We can go over towards that opposite side, so towards that left side. And then again, slowly coming back to center. And then again, just stretching those arms out and slowly coming up here on to all fours. So we're just going to come into that little flat back position here. So again, hands roughly stacked underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. We're going to come into that little thread in the needle position here. So again, a little side stretch. So this is that one where we bring our right arm up as we inhale. We exhale, thread that right arm underneath the left. We kind of drop our right ear and right shoulder onto the floor here. If they don't quite come onto the floor, you can maybe support the head on a block. That might feel a little bit more comfortable. We're going to cushion, hard back hook. And then again, there's those few different variations you can do here. So you can stay on your knees here. You can gently take your left leg a little bit out to the side, so you're going to press your left toes into the floor. So again, this just shifts your weight a little bit further over towards the right side. You might even find you can thread that right arm a little bit further through. Again, if you feel like you're out of balance, you might just want to keep that knee on the floor. So again, we can stay here. You can also take it into a little side stretch here on the left side. So you can kind of walk your left hand up towards the top of the mat. And then again, a little bit kind of over towards that left ear. It's a bit of a pretzel pose. It's a really good stretch, but it's one of those kind of pretzel yoga poses. And then again, we can also get that left arm down. And we can just just wrap it around the back. Just bring it towards the kind of the opposite hip. So maybe the top of the right hip. Maybe you can even wrap it into the kind of the top of the right thigh. And then again, we can drop that left hand back in, bring the left knee back in if it's been stretched out. And again, slowly come back up here onto all fours. And then again, we can go on to that opposite side. So again, this time we can take that left arm up as we inhale. Exhale, threading that left arm through, dropping that left ear and left shoulder onto the floor, or again onto a block if that feels better, or a cushion. And again, we can bring our right leg out to the side if we want to, kind of pressing into the toes, shifting that weight a little bit further over. You might even thread that left arm a little bit further through. You can also bring that right arm up towards the top of the mat. Maybe walk that hand a little bit over, or walk that arm a little bit over towards that ear. So again, we start to find that side stretch through the right side. And then again, we can bring right hand back in, right knee back in. And we can again gently come back into any little child stretch here, just for a couple of breaths before we get ready to come into our standing poses. So again, just take a couple of moments here. Have the arms stretched out, have a couple of fists on the floor, forehead on fist, forehead on block, hands down by the feet, whatever feels comfortable here. And then again, we can gently stretch the arms out in front, slowly coming up onto all fours. And then we're just going to start to come into our little cat-cow spine rolls here. So again, just kind of stacking the joints. And again, as always, we start with the tailbone. So again, we tuck tailbone up, we drop belly down, we roll up through the chest, we lift up through the head. So we come into that little back bend. We can tuck toes under, tuck tailbone down, suck the belly in, arch through the back. Drop the head as we come into that little forward fold. Get a couple more rounds working with the breath. I always start with the feet, so I take my feet flat on the floor and then tuck my tailbone up. Roll up through the front. And then again, stretching through the back. And again, one more round. And then again, when we've done 3 rounds, we come back to that flat back, that neutral spine. And then we just step our hands a little bit further forward. We inhale here, pressing into the hands. We exhale, pull back towards that little child stretch. Feel that stretch across the shoulders, down the arms. We come into a little forward fold. We can inhale, coming back to that flat back position. And then again, we transition to that little back bend. So again, we drop the pelvis. Roll up through the front of the belly, up through the chest. We lift the head. And then again, we can do a couple more. So again, we can slide back towards that little child stretch, forward fold. Okay, transition through that neutral spine, and then we come into that little back bend, opening up through the front of the body. And again, the third time you come into that little upward facing dog or low cobra. If it feels okay just to hang out there for a couple of breaths, you can. And then again, we can slowly pull back into our little child stretch. And now we're going to get ready to come into our little downward facing dog. So again, slowly coming back up onto all fours. Again, just pressing into the hands. Actually, if you've got your socks on, this is always a good place to start. You want to take your socks off. And then again, hands underneath shoulders. Pressing into the fingertips up between the shoulder blades. Tucking toes under. Shifting bum towards the heels as we inhale. Exhaling, taking that tailbone up towards ceiling. Coming into your little downward facing dog here as you take a few moments, just kind of walk the dog, stretch out however feels good. And then again, we can just slowly walk, drag those hands in towards the feet. So we're coming to our little forward flop here. Take a couple of moments here just to stretch out, ragdoll, flop, rock from side to side, however feels good. And then again, we can roll, gently coming up into standing. So we're going to come into a couple of little kind of little vinyasa type sun salutation. I'm going to turn my heater off. And again, we're just going to go quite slow tonight. Just give everything a really good kind of stretch out. So just coming into Tadasana at the front of the mat. And again, we always find our own Tadasana. So again, what feels the right kind of position for our feet? So again, I always find this helps to close the eyes. Again, those of you who've been practicing for years, you'll probably always come into the same stance. So your body just kind of knows. Again, if you haven't practiced for a while, just take a couple of moments closing the eyes and just adjusting your feet. So you find a position where you feel really kind of grounded and balanced. And Tadasana means mountain in Sanskrit. So what makes you feel like really kind of grounded and solid and strong here? And again, just really shifting the weight into the feet. So really pressing down into the floor, maybe even gripping the mat slightly with the toes. Softening the knees, relaxing the arms. And then again, we can inhale, bringing those arms up. We can clasp the hands together. Exhale, roll the shoulder blades back and down. Take that inhalation. Exhale again, little side stretch. Doesn't really matter which side you go to. Inhale to center. Exhale to the opposite side. Inhale, coming back to center. Exhale, taking those arms wide out by the sides. Clasping behind the back, squeezing the shoulder blades in this time as we inhale. Exhale again, folding forwards. Bringing those arms up behind, dropping the head. Taking a couple of breaths here. And then again, we can relax those hands down. We can just come into a little forward flop or fold here. Again, just taking a few moments to stretch out however feels good. So again, maybe flop, ragdoll, bow up and down, rock from side to side. I always find I kind of rock from toes to heels. I just do it intuitively, I don't even think about it. And then again, we can just cup those fingertips in line with the toes. Shift the weight towards our right foot. Again, we step that left foot back. We drop that back left knee, left foot onto the floor. We can come into a little bit of a psoas stretch here. So again, we might press our belly a little bit towards that right thigh. Again, traditionally in yoga, you're supposed to have your knee and ankle in line. Again, I don't really hold by that anymore, so you might just want to adjust your front foot a little bit. I always tend to have my knee actually in line with my toes on this one because I really like the Achilles stretch. And again, we just take a couple of moments here to relax. Feel that little bit of psoas stretch, quad stretch here in the back leg. And then again, we can just clasp the hands down, bring the hands down onto the floor, press the palms into the floor, up between the shoulder blades, tuck the toes under, lift up through the back leg. Just take a moment here before we step back to really kind of press into the toes and through that back left heel. So you can feel that little bit more now of an engagement through the front line of the leg. And then again, we can inhale here. We can step that right foot back. We can shift the weight of the shoulders over the hands. We kind of drop into that plank position. And then again, we can bring knees, tops of the feet onto the floor. We can again either pull back to a child here if that feels good, or again, we can kind of bend the elbows, lower the chest towards the floor as we inhale. Exhale, we kind of push through towards that little upward facing dog like we did at the beginning. And then again, we can pull back now into child stretch. And again, whenever I go into child, I always automatically tuck my toes under, so I get a plantar fascia stretch, but you don't have to. You can keep the toes flat on the floor if you want to. And then we can just slowly slide those hands underneath shoulders, tucking the toes under, shifting the bum towards the heels as we inhale. Exhale, we take that tailbone up towards the ceiling, come into our little downward facing dog. Take a few moments here to stretch out in down dog, however feels good. Come into that little calf stretch. So again, we might step that right foot behind the left. Press the left heel towards the floor, tailbone up towards the ceiling, relax the head. And then again, we can bring that right foot onto the floor. We can step left foot behind, press that right heel towards the floor, tailbone up towards the ceiling, dropping the head down. And then coming back into our downward facing dog. And again, we can either walk hands to feet, feet to hands. So those of you who like to step through, you can step through. Come into your little forward flop or forward fold. And then again, we can roll up, or again, we can hinge up, taking those arms wide out to the side, pressing into the heels, engaging the glutes. And back into Tadasana. And then again, we can do all that on the opposite side. So again, we can come back to the front of the mat. We can again take a couple of moments here, find that Tadasana, get really grounded here, soften the knees, allow the arms to relax down. We can again inhale, bringing those arms up, clasping the hands together, exhale, rolling shoulder blades back and down. Take an inhalation here, exhale again, we can bring those arms over towards one side. We can inhale to center, exhale into the opposite side. We can again inhale, coming back to center, exhaling, bringing those arms wide out to the side, clasp the hands together, roll the shoulder blades back, squeeze shoulder blades in as we inhale. Exhale again, folding forward, dropping the head, taking the arms up behind. And then again, we can relax those arms. And again, we can come into any little forward flop, forward fold here. And again, just cupping the fingertips in line with the toes. You might need to bend the knees a little bit to get there. Shifting the weight towards our left foot this time, stepping that right foot back. dropping that back right knee, top of the foot onto the floor. Again, maybe pressing your belly a little bit towards that front thigh, that left thigh, allowing the pelvis to kind of sink down a little. And again, we might keep knee and ankle on the front leg in line. You might even shuffle that front foot a little bit further back. So again, maybe knee and toes more in line. Again, nice little Achilles stretch. And again, we can just take a couple of breaths here. And then again, we can press the hands into the floor, not clasp the hands, press the hands into the floor, press up between the shoulder blades, tuck the toes under, lift up through the back leg. Again, really press into the toes through the back heel. So again, you start to feel that kind of front line of the leg engage. And then again, we can just step that left foot back, shift the weight of the shoulders over the hands. We can again drop the knees, feet onto the floor. We can pull back to a child. We can bring the chest towards the floor as we inhale. Exhale, pushing through towards that upward facing dog. And then again, we can shift back towards a little child stretch. Again, toes tucked under or not, whichever you prefer. And then again, we can slide the hands in, hands underneath shoulders, tuck toes under, shifting bum towards heels, taking that tailbone up towards ceiling, coming back into our little downward facing dog. And again, we can find that little calf stretch here. So again, if we step right foot behind left, press left heel towards floor, tailbone up towards ceiling, dropping the head. And then again, we can swap sides, step that left foot behind right, left foot behind right, right heel towards floor, tailbone up towards ceiling. And then again, back into our downward facing dog. And again, we can walk hands to feet, feet to hands. We can come into our little forward fold here. And then again, we can roll up, hinge up, press into the heels, take the arms wide out to the side, lift up into our standing position, and back into our Tadasana. So now we're going to do a couple more kind of little salutations. We're going to work a little bit to high lunges, so again, a little bit more balance. So again, just making sure you feel nice and grounded. If you're practicing on a mat on a carpet, obviously balances are always harder. Softer the surface, the harder it is to balance. So again, just getting grounded here into your Tadasana, pressing down, again, really shifting our weight or shifting our awareness into our feet. Soften the knees, relaxing the arms. Again, we can inhale, bringing the arms up. This time we bring the hands into prayer position above the head. We can take our gaze up towards our thumbs. So we start to come into just a very gentle little back bend here. And then again, we can inhale, we can exhale, just draw the hands down the midline. Come back into the forward fold, forward floor. And then again, cupping the fingertips in line with the toes this time. Again, shifting the weight towards that right foot, stepping the left foot back. And then again, we just kind of shift the weight forwards a little bit. So we keep our back knee lifted off the floor. We go bring our belly towards that front thigh. We kind of have our right knee and ankle in line for this one. This is where we're going to lift up into a high lunge. So again, you're going to find your balance. Really press down into your feet as you inhale. Exhale, you're going to slowly lift up. Again, we can bring hands into prayer position above the head. We can have hands shoulder distance. We can have hands clasped, shoulders roll back and down, whichever you prefer. And then again, we can slowly fold back down. Planting those palms again, pressing up between the shoulder blades. Inhaling here. Exhale again, we can step back into plank, shifting the weight of the shoulders over the hands, pressing into the hands, into the toes, through the heels, sucking the belly and sucking the ribs. And start the arm balances is plank pose. And then again, we can drop knees, feet onto the floor. Again, pull back into child, or again, bend the elbows, lowering the chest as we inhale. Exhale, pushing through towards that little upward facing dog. And then again, we can shift back towards that little child stretch. And then again, just bringing those hands underneath shoulders, pressing into the hands up between the shoulder blades, dropping the bum down as we inhale. Exhale, taking that tailbone up towards ceiling. Coming into our little downward facing dog, taking a couple of moments here to stretch out. And then again, we can walk hands to feet, feet to hands. We can step through. We can come into our little forward flop, forward fold. And then again, we can roll up, hinge up, take those arms wide out to the side. Lift up, again, come back into the prayer position above the head, little back bend. And again, exhale back into Tadasana. And then again, we can do all that on the opposite sides again, just coming back towards front of the mat. And again, just getting grounded here. Closing the eyes, shifting the awareness down into the feet. Finding that real solid stance, softening the knees, softening the arms. Again, inhaling, bringing those arms up. Again, hands into prayer position above the head. Exhaling here, we just look up towards those thumbs. Very slight back bend. We inhale here, we exhale, draw the hands down the midline of the body. Come into our little forward flop, forward fold. And then again, cupping the fingertips in line with the toes, shifting the weight towards the left foot this time, stepping that right foot back. Again, planting that back foot into the floor, pressing through the heels. Again, left knee and ankle is in line. We inhale here. We exhale, lifting up into our low lunge. Again, hands shoulder distance, clasped together in prayer position. Again, roll the shoulder blades back and down. And then again, we can slowly lower back down, planting the palms, pressing up between the shoulder blades as we inhale. Exhaling, stepping that left foot back. Shifting the weight of the shoulders over the hands, pressing into the hands up between the shoulder blades so you feel your armpits widen, armpits of power there. And again, we can just make sure you don't dump your bum down too much. So again, suck the belly and suck the ribs in. And then again, we can drop knees, feet on the floor. We can again pull back to child, or again bend the elbows as we inhale. Exhale, pushing through towards that upward facing dog. And then again, pulling back to our little child stretch, little forward fold. And again, just sliding those hands underneath shoulders, pressing into the hands up between shoulder blades. Again, tucking toes under, shifting the bum towards the heels, and then tailbone up towards the ceiling. Again, taking a few moments here to stretch out. Now, little down dog. And then again, we can walk hands to feet, feet to hands, step through, jump through, hop through, however it's comfortable to come back into your forward flop, forward fold. And then again, we can roll up, hinge up, take those arms wide out to the side. Lift up again, come back into that prayer position above the head, gaze up towards the thumbs. And then again, exhaling back into Tadasana. So we're going to do one last one just to come down towards the floor, and then we're just going to stay there on the floor. Let's just kind of chill out a little bit, do a little bit more restorative session to finish. So again, just getting grounded here in our Tadasana, softening the knees. We can again inhale, bringing those arms up. And gaze up towards the thumbs. If it feels okay for this one, maybe you can take it a little bit more into a back bend. So pressing into the feet, taking the pelvis and the belly forward, chest up, head back. And then again, we can inhale, lift. Exhale, folding forwards. And coming back into that little forward flop, forward fold. Again, we can cup the fingertips in line with the toes, shift the weight towards right foot, step left foot, plant palms, and right foot back. Shift the weight of the shoulders over the hands. Come back into your little plank position. And again, from plank position, you can drop knees, feet onto the floor here. You can roll down into a little child stretch. Again, we can drop the top of the feet onto the floor. We can bend the elbows as we want to. Inhale, exhale, pushing through towards a little upward facing dog. If you're in upward facing dog and it feels comfortable, you can take it into a little bit more of an arm balance and also a little bit more of a back bend. So getting the top of the feet, pressing the top of the feet into the floor and lifting your knees off the floor. And then just kind of sinking in a little bit. So you drop your pelvis, you keep your knees off the floor. A little bit more weight on the hands and the top of the feet. A little bit more of a back bend, I find. And then again, we can drop the knees. Shift back towards our little child stretch. Take a couple of breaths here. And then again, we can slide hands underneath shoulders. Tuck toes under, shift bum towards the heels. Take tailbone up towards ceiling. Come again into our little downward facing dog. And then again, we're just going to slowly drop the knees, untuck the toes, and just come back into any little child pose here, just to relax for a couple of breaths. And then again, we can just bring the fingertips down by the knees and just slowly lift them. And then we're going to transition over onto our backs. So we're going to do a little bit more back bending. So we're going to do a little bit of playing around with bridge pose. So all we're going to do is just kind of shove my back a little bit closer. We're just going to come down onto our backs. And again, we're just going to take a couple of moments here. So again, you might just kind of hug your knees in, rock out the lower back, maybe circle the knees a little bit here, whatever feels good. Have a little stretch out for a couple of moments. So we're just going to kind of plant our feet here down onto the floor. We're going to have a little play around with bridge pose. And again, if you want to go into a supported bridge actually to finish off, if you have your block, your hardback book and a cushion to hand, whatever props you're using, just kind of have it so you can grab it for the end. So again, just relaxing the arms down by the sides, kind of rolling the shoulder blades back, lengthening the neck, hands pressing into the floor, knees and kind of ankles are in lines, kind of feet stacked underneath the knees, and feet and knees roughly about hip distance. Or maybe slightly wider, or actually slightly closer together, whichever gait works best for you, however your kind of hips are built, whatever your gait is for your feet. And again, we're just going to slowly come into our little kind of bridge lifts here. So again, very similar to kind of cat-cow, kind of like the vinyasas we've been doing. So that kind of wave of the spine, stretch through the front, stretch through the back of the body. So again, we're just going to inhale. So we press into the feet, into the hands, lifting up through the thighs, up through the belly, up through the chest. And then again, as we exhale, we roll down through the back of the body, so through the back of the shoulders, the back of the sternum, back of the ribs, lower back, sucking the lower back and see if we can bring it onto the floor, and then the bum. And again, a couple more times, the same thing. You can also bring your arms into the movement if you want to. So inhale, lifting up into your bridge position. Exhale, rolling down through the back of the body, trying to bring as much of the spine to connect to the floor as you can. And again, one more round. Thinking nice, fluid, kind of slinky movements. And again, when we've done 3 rounds like that, we're going to again take it a little bit more into the shoulders because it's going to be a lovely kind of shoulder stretch we can do here. So the next time we inhale coming up, we can bring the arms up over the head. We can leave those arms on the floor above the head as we exhale again, rolling down through the back of the body. And again, if you've got tight shoulders, you might find you can't bring too much of your spine onto the floor before your shoulders lift. And then again, once that bum's hit the floor, you can bring the arms back down. And again, a couple more rounds. This is where I'm always very aware of my tightness in my shoulders. And again, one more round. Feeling that lovely little kind of shoulder opener. And then again, when we've done 3 rounds, we can just come into that very restorative bridge now. So again, whenever you've done 3 rounds, again, just in your own time, just bringing the arms down by the sides, again, pressing into the hands, into the feet, lifting up into your bridge position. This is when you can get your prop, whatever you've got to hand, book, bolster, block, and just bringing it underneath kind of the lower back and the top of the bum. You think about where the back of the hips are, so that kind of sacral, kind of iliac area. And then again, just kind of get comfortable here. Again, you can have it any height, depending on how comfortable you are with back bends. If you're not very comfortable with back bends, as I'm not, you might just be a little bit lower. If you like a big open back bend, you might be a little bit higher. And then again, we can bring it a little bit into the upper body. So again, we can stretch the arms up over the head, or again, maybe have cactus arms. Take a couple of breaths here. And again, just allow the back of the shoulders, the back of the sternum to press into the floor. Just that real kind of letting go and everything become heavy and restorative. And again, you can keep your legs as they are. You can stretch your legs out a little bit further so you come more into like a kind of long bridge. So now your heels may be on the floor. If you feel when you stretch both legs and you feel a little bit of pull in your lower back, you might just want to stretch one leg and keep one leg in a bridge position. So one kind of foot stacked under the knee. And then the other leg just stretched out. Again, it's just the psoas at the back of the body. Again, if you do want to do sides, I'll kind of tell you when's a good time to swap sides. And again, if you're doing sides, you might just want to swap here, stretch the opposite leg out. And then again, you can just gently bring both feet back in. We can bring the arms back down by the sides. We can press into the hands and the feet, lifting back up into our bridge position, sliding our prop out. And then again, just slowly rolling down, vertebrae by vertebrae. And just coming back onto your back. And again, just maybe taking that moment here to hug the knees in, rock out that lower back for a couple of breaths. Or maybe again, even circle the knees. And then the final last little pause we're going to do here is we're just going to come into a little bit of a twist. So again, just kind of stretching through the sides of the body, which we've done quite a lot of today, but also through the upper body and the lower body. So we're just going to kind of drop the feet onto the floor. We're going to come into that little universal twist. So this is that one where we stretch the right leg out. We keep the left knee bent, we keep the left foot kind of stacked underneath the left knee. We can budge our hips a couple of inches over towards the left side. And as we do that, our weight shifts more towards our right kind of bum cheek. We can bring our arms out to shoulder, we can bring left arm out to shoulder level. We can bring right hand over towards our kind of left thigh, left knee. We can inhale here. And we exhale, just kind of draw that left knee over. So we roll a little bit over towards the right side. And then again, just like we did in bridge, we find a really kind of restorative pose. So a pose that really works for us. So we might keep left arm shoulder level. You might turn it a little bit more into cactus arm, so you kind of bend it a little bit. You might slide it a little bit higher. So whatever feels good here. Again, you might play around with the position of the head. You might have the head supported. You might have your gaze up towards the ceiling. You might have the head turned to the right. And again, the same with the left leg. You can keep that left foot resting on the right leg. You can drop the foot onto the floor. So we believe like to stretch it out to the side, which I find it's a little bit like being on a rack. Again, if you want to, you can stretch the leg out. That one's quite nice if you've got something to support it on. So it can be a little bit of an IT band stretch if you've got like a block or a bolster or a wall or a sofa or anything to kind of prop your leg up on. And then again, we just relax here into the pose for a few breaths. So again, we're just going to practice our little pratyahara, just sinking inwards, so kind of really kind of coming into the body. So this is one of the actual the yamas, which is that svadhyaya, which is kind of know yourself, kind of know what works for you, know your triggers, know your issues, know your tight little areas, little spots where you hold tension. So again, we just close the eyes if that feels okay. Shifting the awareness and the breath into wherever we feel the stretch as we exhale. Allow those areas just to soften, relax, release a little. And again, just same as I'm kind of playing around with the yin session last night actually, just becoming aware of the parts of the body that press into the floor. So sometimes it's really hard to know how to relax. Sometimes we're so kind of used to holding tension in the body, we don't even realize we do it. So I often find the best way for me to relax is to allow the body to become heavy. To become aware of the parts of the body that press into the floor. And as you exhale, just try to allow your kind of weight to sink down into those areas. Just let everything become nice and heavy. And then again, we can slowly come back onto our back. We can again swap sides here. So again, we can stretch out the left leg, keep that right foot on the floor, this time right knee bent, budge the hips a couple of inches over towards the right side, so again, weight shifts towards the left. Let left arm out to shoulder level, bring right arm out to shoulder level, left hand over towards that right thigh, right knee as we inhale. Exhale again, we draw that leg over, we roll over a little bit towards that left side. We play around again with position the arm. Stretch out to the side, cactus arm, a little bit higher, position of the head, position of that leg. Again, if you've got a wall like I have here, sometimes just kind of pressing the foot into the wall is quite nice. Because again, you get that kind of restorative where you can just kind of soften into it. And then again, just closing the eyes, shifting that awareness inwards. Just becoming aware of the body, aware of the different sensations, aware of how we feel. Again, one of the practices of pratyahara to kind of stop being so kind of overwhelmed by our senses is to kind of really focus on one sense. You can do this in meditation with like a smell, looking at a candle, staring at an image, chanting a mantra, like a sound, all different variations of kind of pratyahara. And again, just allowing the body to become nice and heavy here, becoming aware of the parts of the body that press into the floor, sinking into those parts. And everything soften. Don't know how to soften, just let everything become heavy. And then again, we can slowly come back onto our backs. We can take a couple of moments here. So again, however you feel, you need to stretch out before you come into a little Shavasana. So again, you might want to hump your knees in, you might want to stretch your legs up, you might want to squeeze the knees in, circle the knees, just whatever feels good here. For a couple of moments, have a little stretch out. And then we're just going to get ready. Well, you're going to get ready. I'm going to sit up, but you're going to get ready to come into your little Shavasana here. So again, if you want to get any kind of warmer clothes on, any socks, blankets, jackets, cushions, and turn any lights off. And again, just getting nice and comfortable here. And just relaxing down onto your floor. So again, okay, if you've got a bed down or a sofa. And we're going to do a little Pratyahara practice tonight. So again, a little sense withdrawal. So if you do normally listen to music in your Shavasana, just kind of maybe turn the music off tonight for this one. And again, we just take that couple of moments here, we get nice and comfortable. We can have our arms just relaxed down by the sides. Have the legs nice and relaxed, back of the neck is long, chin slightly tucked in, eyes closed. And just take a few moments here, make any little adjustments so that body feels nice and comfortable. And then we can just slowly now start to just become aware of the breath. So again, just that inhalation, the exhalation. Starting to breathe a little bit into the kind of yogic breath or the free part breath. And then we can just start to bring that breath and the awareness into the body. So again, just breathing from the top of the head, right down through the body, focusing into any little areas of tension, tightness, discomfort in the body. And kind of really focus into those points. Again, on the exhalation, we just try and allow again that tension and stiffness just to release. Allow those areas to soften a little bit, lengthen a little, become heavy. Just that kind of trying to let go of any tension and kind of held parts. And again, just breathe in from the top of the head, right down into the fingers, the toes. And again, as we exhale, allowing the body to sink down into the floor and just let everything soften and release. And then we can just start to bring our awareness now just to the sense of sound and just the different things we can hear around us. Again, we start with the things that are closest or we're most aware of, and then kind of start to shift out to the more subtle sounds. And then we can bring our awareness to our sense of vision here. So even with the eyes closed, is there any pinpricks of light? Is there any shadows, colours? And then bringing our awareness to the sense of smell. Again, someone's cooking you dinner, candles burning, fire, if you've got an open fire, sort of wood or coal, just kind of different things you can smell around. And then we can just bring our awareness now to our sense of taste. Again, sometimes taste in the mouth, or again, just how the mouth feels, the tongue, the teeth. Maybe just relaxing the palate. And then finally, just bringing our awareness again to that sense of touch. So again, the different things we can feel around us. Again, warmth, clothes, the floor. And then finally trying to shift your awareness inwards. So again, trying to withdraw from those senses. So what helps you to withdraw? Is it the kind of the focus of the breath? The counting of the breath? Is it focusing on the heart center? Focusing on the point between the eyes? Again, these are kind of tradak or focused gazing, yogic technique. And again, when we focus on something, it's not that we don't hear the noises, the smell, the sense around us. It's just that we're not distracted by them, we're not focused on them. We're just kind of aware that they're there, but then we just let them go. And then we can just slowly bring our awareness back to the body, back to the floor underneath us, back to the breath, starting to breathe a little deeper. And start to bring a little bit of gentle movement into the body, maybe wiggling the fingers, the toes a little, taking the head from side to side. And you might bring those hands together, gently rubbing the hands together, creating that little bit of warmth. Bring the hands up to the eyes, gently blinking into that warmth and darkness of the hands. And then we can just slowly hug the knees in, have that little rock out of the lower back. And then just finding our way up into seated, just to finish. So for the final little practice we're going to do tonight, we're going to come into any comfortable seated position. We can have our hands resting, or again you can stay on your back. So if you're comfortable on your back, so you can stay on your back. Again, you can have hands resting on the knees in the lap. You can have hands on the heart. You can have hands in prayer position. And we're just going to take a moment to think about a Sankalpa. So some of you have done this with me before. So the solstice workshop, we did this in the class last night. So Sankalpa is kind of like a yogic kind of intention. But rather than an intention, which is the assumption that you're not good enough or that you have to change something in your life, a Sankalpa kind of, the word kalpa means kind of a vow or promise or resolve. And it's kind of like a positive commitment to yourself. It's focusing on your heart's desire. And it's kind of comes from the belief in yoga that you're already perfect as you are. You don't need to change anything. You just need to kind of channel that energy within. So you can kind of find that kind of path, that dharma, that kind of way through life. So it should kind of honour the kind of deeper meaning of our life, our purpose for being here. So there's two types of sankalpa. There's kind of like a heartfelt desire, which is a kind of a statement that reflects our true nature. And it's in the present tense. So you're already there. You're already that thing. You just need to kind of really focus on it. So it can be like, I am courageous, I'm confident, I'm peaceful, I'm happy, I welcome health and wellness into my life. So it might just be a very simple statement of a word. Or it can be a very specific intention. So if you have a very focus that you want to get to, where do you want to direct your energy this year? What do you want to create in your life? What do you want to manifest? What obstacles do you need to overcome to get to that point? So it can be very, very specific. So again, you can just take a couple of moments here, just see if anything comes up. If nothing comes up, that's totally fine as well. Again, it's just that heartfelt desire. And again, just breathing it out, letting it go. So thank you very much, guys. Lovely to practice with you.